in a very quick succession.
Hey, so we're in firing room one watching the first attempt by a U.S. entity, government or corporate, and to land on the moon. And we're about 3 minutes away. 3 minutes away, and I'm here with Alexander, whose great-grandfather actually launched Apollo 17, the last U.S.-made moon lander of any kind. So this is kind of an exciting day for us.
Still processing. Depause terrain relative navigation measurements.
We're just going to pretty much just sit back and watch this.
To make sure HRN was working, pulling on extra resources.
A lot of thoughts going through my head on the fact that this is legitimately the first time since 1972 that any U.S. entity attempted to land on the moon, which is really kind of sad if you think about it.
Into that extra lunar orbit. It wasn't a situation where we could just sit in lunar orbit and try to solve our problems indefinitely, and it's sounding good so far.
50 some odd years ago, our father helped launch Apollo 17, which successfully landed on the moon, and they came home and they get to teach him about it in school now, and now we're going to have something else on the record books, hopefully, if this is a successful landing. We're less than 2 minutes away. They've been doing retro rocket burns in order to slow the orbital velocity down, and
standing by to see if we can get an altitude read.
They're like a mile and a half above the surface of the moon right now, I believe.
On blue team.
Confirm that looked like a pitch over gimbal. Let's do it.
Sounds like we have some data that confirms pitch over. This starts the HDA process. That's hazard detection avoidance. Throughout this show, you've heard Gary and I talking about the problem that was attempted to be solved in lunar orbit, making the decision to not only postpone this show.
NDL indicates altitude of 1,000 meters.
1,000 meters call out.
1,000 meters
call out from NDL. That is coming from flight management. This is a system right now. NDL was not intended to be the primary landing system on this. Instead, we're using laser beams from NDL and feeding.
So the hazard detected avoidance is information given to the lander so it doesn't put itself in a crater.
About where it wants to land. That is generally
less than 1
minute.
Less than 1 minute.
Less than 1 minute to touchdown.
Again, that's the time of touchdown. It may take some time to actually confirm the status of the lander.
And in this process, we do have a deployment of Eagle Cam attempting to take the third-person images of Nova C going down to the lunar surface. We are inside of 1 minute, Gary.
That would be really cool to have a third-person point of view camera of another lander landing on the moon for reals.
Yes, we're willing to blow down.
This thing should be landing on the moon any second.
And we're tracking here in the broadcast booth. The clock has reached the expected.
May take a minute for comms to reestablish standby.
There it is, mission director beating us to it. We've reached the
Should be on the moon,
time of landing, but now it's the process of waiting for comms, and we are in standby mode, as you heard it from the mission director, Dr. Tim Crane.
The waiting's the hardest part. Of course, if it's in pieces, it's not going to be able to send its status back. But
1 minute has elapsed from the notes that we have, Gary, of that original burn starting at PDI.
let's hope for.
It's MD asking if we are getting the ground stations locked on to Nova C. That that carrier lock call, Gary, we expect that to come from GroundNet or COM, that conversation possibly not happening on our public channel that we have access to. We're just standing by to hear that come through the channels as we approach almost 2
Well, what do you guys
minutes since
think? Did
we
it make it or
estimated
did
the
it
hold
not
time.
make it?
We did get a few call-outs on the side, folks coming into the room saying there was about a 2-minute
2-minute forgiveness.
in our timetables.
Apparently there's a 2-minute forgiveness period if you're landing on the moon.
Checking antenna reception.
Yeah, everybody's quiet. You could hear a pin drop.
And we're standing by, Gary. We're standing by just as we approach 5:26 p.m. Central Standard Time. Given those mission directors' notes of the flexibility between what we were tracking, what we were given was just about 5:24.
All stations, this is MD. Please look back through your logs and confirm the last information you had, and we'll determine this is a comm outage.
And that's the mission director, Gary. These are our notes here of what we believed. We talked about the comm outages with the lander making autonomous decisions. This is the
That didn't
process of
sound
going
good.
through the last bit of data that came into Nova Control and working to verify, okay, this is the last bit of data. Where was the lander possibly going? How do we look for it and establish those communications? Nova C uses 4 antennas placed at the top of the lander that are designed to capture these communications, but we did expect this. We talked about it, that this is a communications challenge in and of itself, and right now we're standing by to hear that communications call out.
Just a little more
So
than
it could happen any moment or it could never happen.
when the clock reads 0 for Nova C landing on the moon.
If they had a good third-person video camera on the subject, we would know. But how long do we wait in silence?
We just checked with our team here in the broadcast booth, decided to let's stay on this. All the chatter we are not hearing on this public channel, Gary, all things indicate that we are working to solve a possible communications challenge in this moment. So we're going to continue to stand by.
I like how they word stuff. It's like
For those following along,
MD Prime on.
our satellite might be in pieces,
Go for prime.
but it's a communications challenge.
Yeah, I guess you poll the room looking for states, and we're going to go ahead and cycle the ground transmitter on Goonhilly and do some RF sweeps. Is that your plan?
RF sweeps. Oh no, they're doing RF sweeps.
And that's just what we had in mind in our notes.
So basically, I think at this point in time, they're going into a mode where they're going to see if there's any signal whatsoever coming from this craft, which is supposedly sitting on the moon. They had perfect communications with prior to landing. So it's pretty odd that it's not being communicated with unless, of course, it can't communicate. So that's my initial guess, but we're going to let them do their work, and hopefully they'll let us know one way or another. But the nice thing is that a private corporation got some funds together, built a satellite, put it on a SpaceX rocket, and sent it to the moon and landed it there for the first time since 1972. And as excited as I am for that, why didn't it happen 40 years ago? I don't know. When I was a kid, I had a different view of what space would look like right now, and it was more populated with people and space stations and moon bases. Not trying to land micro landers on a celestial body that we landed people on 50-something years ago, and
right. What we do know is the
wondering
power
why
communication
we're
following along in
just
the
attempting to
status
do
calls.
it again, and
We executed a
why we
visual
don't have
maneuver.
communications
We're
with it,
counting
and
down
it's
the clock.
probably because we
So
haven't had the
landing time,
experience of moon
at
landings for the last
5:23 p.m.
55
Central
years.
Time.
51
Josh
years.
described those processes.
So hopefully we'll learn our lesson and do some more of these, and so that they'll be more successful before we actually attempt to land humans on the moon. Because if we can't land landers on the moon, what are we doing landing humans on the moon? Even though we could do it 50 years ago.
FIDO MD on IM1.
I think we need to do some soul searching, people, and
Looking at our phase plane there for the
think about how we
last
can
part of the
get
flight. Looks like we had
more people, more
excellent
companies,
pitch and yaw control throughout.
more
But it did see a
NASA
little bit of a
missions
roll
to the
excursion.
moon,
Could it be that we landed
so we can
off,
get some
the
landing
roll
experience
in the final phase?
before we do it for
see-
reals. And
Get up
that's
to
going
an
to be
8-degree excursion.
my word for the day, and I'm going to go.
begin,
And
the roll
hopefully these
maneuver, which
guys
is
Terminal phase.
establish comms
terminal
here
phase,
soon.
which is a large roll maneuver to get to landing attitude.
Just listen in one more
That's the
second.
latest,
And
last data point I have. But up until that point, we were really slow.
Right, so terminal phase begins at 30 meters.
we're going to leave with some feedback, because
Post HDA.
what a better way to
400 meters.
have a communications problem than double feedback.
That's a great conversation. That's a great conversation. Confirming.
That's still ground down. Good for box scan. Make that go.
That was good confirmation of the process. That was good confirmation of the process that we were very familiar with. Talking about attitudes of making sure that those antennas are within direct line of sight with Earth's
Are you guys getting this?
ground station.
Well, I'm going to do it for another minute, because
Mission director, all stations are also updating our planning vector with our dishes to make sure that they're tuned in on the final access.
this mission director is ending all communications because it's getting ridiculous now. So we're gonna go and
And it's important to note, Gary, that we have an entire network dedicated
hopefully we'll have some better news. See you later. I just ended the video, and a few minutes later they said they think they're getting signals from or through the high gain antenna on the moon lander.
All stations, this is mission director on IM1. We're evaluating how we can refine that signal and dial in the pointing for our dishes. What we can confirm, without a doubt, is our equipment is on the surface of the moon, and we are transmitting. So, congratulations, IM team. We'll see how much more we can get from that.
Okay, so what they just said was that
an excellent call
regardless
from
of the
our
condition of the
mission
craft,
director,
like whether it's tipped over or landed properly or whatever,
Yeah, if I
that
could just pass on a few words
there
to
is
the entire team and,
communications
to the
with
super
the
fan
probe on
here
the
at,
surface of the moon.
here
They
in
are
Mission
communicating with
Control.
it.
More than
through the high gain
I know
antenna.
this is
So,
a nail biter, but we are
there they are. They're all happy
we are
now.
transmitting, and welcome to the moon.
Houston, Odysseus has found his new home.
An excellent call, and this is our team of Intuitive Machines mechanics and their families, their friends, everyone who has sacrificed so much to make it this far.
These are the people who I love. Whew. People that made it happen. Wow.
How about that call, Gary? That was something else, a faint signal. Now it's time to work on refining that signal. But Dr. Tim Crane, our mission director today, making the call. Odysseus has a new home.
It shows the disciplines of the flight controllers in Nova Control.
This is why I'm not a missions controller, because I jumped to the conclusion it was toast. New pieces on the moon. I didn't come to the conclusion. I just didn't want to wait all day long looking for radio signals. But, you know, 2 more minutes of patience, and here we are. A probe on the moon by a entity from the United States. Oh, this guy on the TV is getting a little emotional.
And to everyone, you mentioned it goes beyond just the
for
folks
sure.
that we saw on camera waiting and working through those tense moments, but their friends, their families, and everything it took to get to this point. We're still expecting an image. We expect that to come down sometime in the future, especially as we look towards
An image, yeah,
some
that would be nice. I'd like to
high-resolution
hang out for
images.
the image.
let's go ahead and it sounds like we do have a message we'd like to cut to. Can we have that message special for our folks, our employees, and folks watching at home?
Yeah, that's right. With Nova C landing at Malapert A, congratulations, like you said, Josh, are flooding into the teams that made this happen. Really sets a tone for the American leadership and the future of a strong lunar economy. So here's NASA Administrator Bill Nelson.
On the 8th day of a 250,000-mile voyage, a voyage along the Great Cosmic Bridge from the launch pad at the Kennedy Space Center to the target of the south pole of the moon, a commercial lander named Odysseus, powered by a
It'd be cool to
company
see an
called
image of that
Intuitive
sitting on the moon.
Machines, launched upon a SpaceX rocket carrying a bounty of NASA scientific instruments and bearing the dream of a new adventure in science, innovation, and American leadership in space. Well, all of that aced the landing of a lifetime. Today, for the first time in more than a half century, the U.S. has returned to the moon. Today, for the first time in the history of humanity, a commercial company, an American company,
So hard to
launched
believe
and
that
led the voyage up there.
51 years ago, our
Today
father
is a
launched the
day
last
that shows the power and promise
spacecraft of any
NASA's
sort to land on the
commercial
moon.
partnerships.
And he's happy about
Congratulations
it.
to
I'm glad
everyone
it's
involved
happened,
in
but
this great and daring quest.
are we
of
going to
Intuitive
make it keep
Machines,
happening, or are we going to
SpaceX,
have more
right here
delays
at NASA.
making it back to the moon?
What a triumph.
A place we were already
Odysseus
at and
has
never should have
taken the moon.
stopped going to.
This feat is a giant leap forward for all of humanity. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
All right, thank you, Administrator
Good
Nelson.
message.
Again, Nova C in the United States has landed on the moon at 5:23 p.m. Central Time today, February 22nd, 2024. Congratulations to Intuitive Machines on the successful landing.
2/2/2,
Science and data gathering is
2024.
already underway and will continue for roughly 7 days on the lunar surface, activating payloads and gathering important scientific data to help ensure future successes in Artemis missions. For more about NASA's CLIPS initiative, visit nasa.gov/CLIPS.
Gary, it's been quite a journey for all of us at Intuitive Machines. Thanks to NASA for the continued support to enable today's successful landing, and of
We're on the
course,
moon.
everyone at Intuitive Machines, their friends and family who made all
We're
of
on the
this
moon.
possible. That will wrap up our coverage of Intuitive Machines' IM-1 mission. Thanks for joining us.
In case you didn't miss what the guys said, we're on the moon. That one.